Hello, Mike Rogers here with you for the Mike Rogers Show. You know, I've been making lots of videos. Thank you to my wife, Yuka. But the other day I was like looking through my files and I found this video and I thought, hey, this is an interview with Mr.Fab. You guys may not know Mr.Fab, but Mr.Fab is a legendary DJ and he is now the program director at WFMU Sheena's Jungle Room. I found this video and I thought, God, I've got to use it. Even though I'm kind of fat, because I think I made this video when I was still drinking alcohol. But I quit drinking for oh, never mind. Mr.Fab, take it away.
Okay, my name is Mr.Fab. I've been a DJ, musician, record collector. I majored in radio, TV, film at Cal State Northridge, although I never did the TV side, but I was on the campus station.
Wait, you went to Cal State Northridge? I went to Cal State Northridge.
Right on.
Did you live in the dorms?
No, I grew up in Northridge, so I lived like a mile away.
I went there for 2 years.
Oh, when did you go?
1979, 1980. Oh, no, probably, 1980, 81.
Well, you were just a few years ahead of me, so I missed you, but I might have seen you around town because I grew up in Northridge. Did you ever go on the campus station, KCSN?
I don't think they had it then. Maybe they did.
They did, but it was really crappy.
Oh.
It wasn't until the early 80s they started doing alternative rock programming, and it got kind of interesting there for a while.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and then I came to the attention of WFMU at the dawn of the internet era because I was making sound collages and mashups and DJing around LA. I started DJing in LA during the lounge revival of the 90s, and I was playing like old surf records and exotica records and in old tiki bars. And then I got into, and that's kind of how I know a lot of the other Sheena's DJs. We go all the way back to the 90s, to that period.
Oh.
We were checking out old thrift stores in the bargain bins and finding weird old records. Like we were talking about, the incredibly strange music thing.
Yeah.
I was there and I would guest DJ on college stations around LA. And then I got into sound collage and was like inspired by early hip hop, like turntablism and sampling. Only I'd be like, sampling wacky, weird stuff. And then with the dawn of home computers, I would put these on CDRs and send them out, and I send them to WFMU, and they were actually playing them, and a lot of the DJs liked it. Station manager Ken was always playing my stuff. I was also kind of a early adopter of music blogs. I started one called Music for Maniacs.
I've read that before.
Oh, well, there you go. I was going to say it got kind of popular because it was among the first music blogs, like, I don't know, 03 or 04.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, and I was just covering all the odd stuff that no one else was reviewing. And after a while, people started sending me their own music. They would even send me old records. And again, the WFMU DJs would always go on Music for Maniacs and they would download stuff that I posted. And then they would offer me to guest DJ on WFMU. In particular, one show, the People Like Us show, called Do or DIY. She would like turn over the whole show to me. Like, this hour is going to be all a Mr.Fab mix. So, and then WFMU had its own blog for a while called Beware of the Blog.
That I know that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I contributed some stuff to that. So I go back with WFMU for quite some time. Station manager Ken Friedman has always been supportive of all these different projects of mine, and he wanted me to get involved in the station somehow. And this kind of dovetails into their approach to technology. The station had a national reputation in the 90s before the internet.
Yes.
Because Rolling Stone magazine kept calling them the best station in America. And I knew about them because one of their DJs, Erwin Chuzet, would come to LA and guest DJ on LA stations. And they had their own magazine. I used to see it in Tower Records. The thing was, we couldn't hear WFMU in the pre-internet days. So people would actually call up on the phone. This is like a crude pre-internet thing where you could listen to WFMU on the phone. So that's how their technology got started, simply because people from around the nation and around the world wanted to hear them. And if you weren't in the New York area or Eastern New Jersey, they tried to come up with ways so that people could listen to them. So they very aggressively started by the turn of the century, at least by around 98 or 99. They put up their own website and they would post audio files on the website, which no one was doing in radio at the time. And then they started archiving their shows. So there were literally shows from like 20, 21 years ago that you can listen to. They were very low quality. I think they were using real audio, instead of. But they started recording all their shows, so anyone could go onto the WFMU website to listen to these shows. And it was a smart commercial strategy, because then they started getting donations from people who didn't even live in the area. So it's a cool thing, but it was also a practical thing to raise more money, because WFMU is not part of any network, NPR or any of those networks. Of course, good. We don't run commercials. Even those, like, I don't know if you remember, American Public Radio would take donations from all these corporations, and they'd run all these, this hour of programming is brought to you by, which is basically a commercial.
Yeah.
And WFMU doesn't accept any corporate money, so we got to get money from somewhere.
Yeah.
So the idea was, since there's a national interest, there are people across the country reading Rolling Stone, and they keep hearing how great we are. Let's put our shows on the internet. And once you've got a website, then you can develop it from there. They started adding things. Well, you can do a chat function so people can say hi. And then people started putting their playlists up. So now DJs are putting their entire playlist up, and you can listen to it. And you can chat, which is a way of building audience rapport. Ken says this is important to the station because it builds this family community. So it's not just about the station. It's about seeing all your friends on the chat and getting to personally know the DJs and everyone. And that's going to keep people coming back.
Yeah.
And again, that's going to build up listenership and hopefully bring in the fundraising bucks too. So it just developed from there. A lot of stations rotate their archives. They only leave a show up for like a few months or something.
Yeah, in Japan, they only do it for a week.
Oh, well, just 1 week. Oh,
yeah,
wow.
And then they're gone.
Yeah. And that's
stupid.
Well, other stations are worried about copyright issues.
Yeah, I think that's what it is in Japan too.
But WFMU's been doing this for 20 years, and it's not a problem. But you also really have to have a great tech team. Our guy Kenzo is this tech genius we hire who's basically building our whole internet structure.
Wow.
And he works as a consultant. So if you're just a community radio DJ, you have no idea how to build this entire internet structure we've got a team that does this, and that's another unusual thing. Most radio stations are just about radio and putting on audio shows. The whole technology aspect is kind of an afterthought. With WFMU, it's in there the whole way. It's integrated into everything the station does. So the idea of then holding what we call the Altstreams, like Sheena's Jungle Room, that just eventually came as an outgrowth. And I think it's because some DJs moved from the New York area. And so they were saying, well, we've got this website and we can play audio through it. We're playing the MP3s that our blog is hosting. We're playing archived shows. Can we just do another audio stream like Doug Shulkind of the Drummer Stream? He was the first one. He moved to Pittsburgh. So they set up his own stream, which is still going. It's the longest lasting of the 3 alt streams. I think it started 13 years ago.
Oh.
And it was just for his own show. And then he put up all these other tracks for the auto DJ. But Ken noticed that listeners were not really listening to the auto DJ so much. They liked having the live DJs. So Doug kind of pioneered the whole thing of doing a show live from your house, like a regular radio show, not just what so many other stations have done during the lockdown, where they just pre-record a show and send it to the station and the engineer plays it at some future date. So then Doug just started bringing aboard other DJs and it turned into its own separate station. And what's great about the alt streams, no FCC regulations. So we can play any naughty words we want. We can, we don't have to read the station IDs at the top of the hour. So there's more freedom. So that's really attractive to some DJs.
Oh,
so then,
go ahead.
And that followed another channel that's now known as Rock and Soul. And those were the only ones for like about 10 years, because Ken said it's like a lot of trouble and it's expensive paying for these other internet streams. So he didn't want to have any other streams. But like I said, he was always a supporter of all my projects and he did want me to get involved in this station. So when I proposed the Sheena's idea, he said, oh, okay, we'll add one more alt stream. And now we've got 3. There used to be other alt streams that just played pre-recorded stuff. But we are now the 3rd one with live DJs.
When did Sheena's Jungle Room start on air?
Almost exactly 3 years, actually 3 years ago this past October. So,
well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. So this idea, I wrote to you and told you that this is a genius idea. So from 2004 to 2007, well, almost 8, I was the general manager of a huge ass Japanese FM station. And I told you, like, there's 42 million people in Tokyo and there's only 5 FM stations.
Yeah.
That station had lost $140 million in 10 years. And then when I became general manager, in 2 years, we killed all the black ink and we were number 1 in ratings by far. And that president at that time, he was a smart guy and he totally got it. When we said, like, you have to build a culture among the community to listen. And so that's what our point was. The whole point was build a culture in a community. So you guys are doing that with the chat room, and it's so obvious. It's so obvious that this is what every station should do. When do you think, or how do you think, when are other stations going to figure this out and start mimicking you guys?
Well, let me tell you, even before the chat, there were other attempts. There was, I said, the blog, and people could leave comments on the blog, and there was a message board as well, where it wasn't for audio, it was just for people to talk back and forth. So I'm surprised that other stations are not doing this. Presumably they don't have to, because maybe with public radio they're affiliated with a university, so they can always fall back on that funding. They can fall back on their corporate funding that they get. So maybe they just don't have to, and with WFMU, it's more a matter of necessity. But I would think commercial radio should focus on this as well, because public radio has really been expanding in America. I mean, in the 70s, no one was listening to public radio. It wasn't even a thing. It's really become so huge that universities are now using it to monetize their school the way the football teams were. Meanwhile, commercial radio has been dropping like a stone.
Yeah.
And I would think that as more, like young people, when we were kids, we turned into the radio. We turned into FM or AM top 40 stations. Kids don't do that. My daughter doesn't do that. I don't think she's turned on a radio in her life. So I would think that really the commercial stations should focus on something like this, but they have not budged. They're still doing things like it's the 80s or something. I don't see any, all I see in commercial radio is ethnic stations taking over. Like in LA, what used to be a lot of AM stations that were like top 40 or sports, now they're like Korean or Latino or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like commercial broadcasters are just giving up on being a major voice in media.
Thank you to Mr.Fab. Don't forget to watch tomorrow when Mr.Fab tells us all about WFMU and the funding campaign. I'm Mike Rogers. If you like this video, please share, subscribe, and like, and we'll see you tomorrow.